This is the Welcome to Humanity podcast with thought leader and transformative psychiatrist, Dr. Fred Moss. This show focuses on the betterment of humanity on a global scale. Each episode will leave you enlightened, inspired, and ready to make an impact in your world. Welcome to the show. Welcome to your life. Welcome to humanity. Here's Dr. Fred.
Hello, listeners of the Welcome to Humanity podcast. And this is Dr. Fred, and it's great to have you on this podcast as a listener today. And here's the thing. I will interview people who are up to amazing things. And these are generally like ordinary people who are doing extraordinary things in their life, like people who are committed to making a huge difference and then actually taking steps to have that difference be made. And it takes all kinds to get that done. The people who come on the show, and Lord knows it really could be millions of people who come on the show that make a difference. The people who I've had on the show have been just amazing, don't you know? Today is no exception. Today we have my very good friend on the show. I've known Kathy for something like 5 years, I guess, and we've become closer friends over the last couple years. I know a little bit about Kathy, and she was able to provide us a bio. And here's a little bit about the bio that Kathy provided for me to read to the listeners, or to generate for my listeners, really. So Kathy's commitment is to a world in that everyone has a spectacular life, with every breath in every scene to the very last breath. She's tenacious and occasionally charming, and she creates authentic glimpses into bright stories for the screens and pages from the Wild West of Canada. Kathy's also the founder and president of a Canadian production company called Starcastle Projects, and regularly contributes as a media writer and producer, and leads others in healing arts such as Qigong, and is an advocate for bringing female voices to the table. I know Kathy to be, and she is known to be, as a person, one who brings peace, happiness, and a new relatedness to all in her world. And without further ado, I would really like to introduce today my guest star, Kathy Fedori. Kathy, welcome to my podcast. It's just great to have you.
Hey, Fred, it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
It is a pleasure, right? Like, who knew that this was going to happen? And now here we are. And, you know, Kathy, we've had a lot of conversations, and most of it been in the backdrop of courses that we were in, or different spaces that we were in incidentally for some third reason. But it's not that often we've been in conversations to learn about each other. And although I think I know a little bit about you, I don't know very much. And certainly my listeners likely know way less about you than me. Before we get started with the conversation with Kathy Fedori, I just wanted to give you a little bit of an update. I've been telling you about this book I wrote called The Creative 8, and it's now available on Amazon.com in both the print and the ebook form. So you can find it by searching Amazon for Creative 8, Welcome to Humanity. That's creative, and then the number 8, Welcome to Humanity. It should come right up. It's a fun read. It's a short book, and it's got lots of really cool pictures. So I'm really pleased with how it turned out, and I think you will be too. So as a listener to the Welcome to Humanity podcast, you're still going to want to get this offer because it's completely free, a free copy of my audiobook version. And all you need to do to get it is go to welcometohumanity.net/creative. So thank you so much for being on this podcast as a listener. And now off to Kathy Fedori. So one of the questions I'm going to open up with is an open-ended question, and you get to take us down the first couple steps of this question, and then we'll see where it can go from there. And that is like, Kathy, really, like, who are you? Like, what are you up to? Like, what matters to you, Kathy Fedori?
Fred, this is a really good question. Like, who am I is one of the big questions of where we are right now. Like, we've gotten to the point where social change is not where we're at. We're at social transformation in our society. And who am I is the big question that comes into everybody's hearts, mine included.
So what are some of the things that are either in your world that are defining yourself, or that are creating a context for who you are, or assisting in the constitution of who Kathy Fedori is. You mentioned that there were some, there's stuff in the world, there's stuff to deal with, along with being, one who is so committed to finding out who other people are.
I pride myself in being a bright light, and I sometimes wonder whether a bright light is inaccessible to people. So what has happened in recent months is I've started to go deeper, like go deep into what the emotions are behind everything I do. And I think this is a really powerful place for people to look. I can share some of them if you want.
I would love that. I'm sure my listeners would too. Please.
Okay, I'll be dramatic. I think there's a massive breakdown of human love happening on our planet right now. A real breakdown in human love. It's expressed by distancing. It's expressed by ego. It's expressed by people forgetting about others. And it comes back to fundamentally creating sadness. Now, for a long time, I thought that was dreadfully awful, and we couldn't have that. And then I realized that, because I went through a few periods of this, I realized that if you just actually sink into the emotion, if you sink into the sadness and feel it in your heart, you experience something that is human, and you experience a way to see the other side of it.
So that's what you're saying is happening to you inside of this breakdown of human love, yes?
I'm just distressed about the fact that we are trying to be connected and we don't actually know how yet.
Right. I had someone tell me the other day that they could almost feel it. It was like the pathway of hermit crabs who, had to leave their laugh shell and now are kind of buzzing around on the sand, hoping to find or looking for the next place that they're going to live. What do you think about that?
I don't really like hermit crabs.
You don't really like it. I love that.
Anyway, I believe in miracles. I believe that you continue to wonder. You continue to be unwilling to accept what you don't want.
Right.
And you play big. So
right.
If I'm going to say there's a breakdown of human love on this planet, I got to play big. I got to be love. Bigger than anything I've ever imagined before. And that's where the magic comes in. When we actually give up that we have a limit. And that's what I've discovered in COVID-19 is there are no limits.
I see. So that makes a lot of sense to me. And it's audacious. I mean, what I'm hearing is there's a breakdown, there's social distancing, there's somewhat of a discouraged attitude. And, despite us wanting to be together, we're not as together as what's required. And instead of sort of falling at the wayside of that, there's something about playing big, like playing big now. Yes?
Yes. Yeah. If we want to live an extraordinary life, we've got to live an extraordinary life.
Right. Exactly. So what does that look like, Kathy? When you say live an extraordinary life, when you say, okay, it's time to I guess what I'm hearing or being implied is that it's time to move from the life you're living now to an even more extraordinary life. Yes?
I can give you a few examples of,
okay.
I have an extraordinary life and I have extraordinary people in my life. But last year I decided I better go on some adventures. So one day, late at night, one night I was looking on my computer and noticed that there was a dinner in Paris where everybody dressed in white. So I decided to go. I enrolled someone in coming with me. And in the night before, she didn't come and I had to go alone. Well, I'm scared stiff of going places alone. And I did it. I went to Paris and had the most extraordinary miracles happen, of meeting people, creating a film, falling in love with the place. And I came back just in time to go to a completely opposite adventure in Cortes Island, which is on the west coast of Canada, to do a very deep meditative retreat in a holistic environment with beautiful food and trees and plants and animals and the energy of a sacred master who was leading us through meditations.
Wow.
And that was beautiful. That was like, wow, this is like more of an extraordinary life. I came home and a friend called and said, my guide can't go with me. Can you come on a trip with me tomorrow? And I thought, yeah, we'll probably go to LA. We'll, go shopping, a few things like that. She said, yeah, here's your flight plan. We're going to Reno. We're going to Burning Man.
Wow.
Well, I've never camped in my life. I got to Burning Man, went into a little tent, worked in their kitchen, served the doctors and nurses, and I don't know. They wanted me to come back this year. We're not. I don't think there is Burning Man this year, but nevertheless, these were extraordinary adventures, and I thought, wow, I am having an extraordinary life. I am doing all of it, and this is just like the icing on the cake.
Yes.
And then something happened.
What was that? I know.
I stopped, Fred, just like the virus has had us stop. It was like December. It was cold. I live in Canada. It's very cold in December. The land's kind of frozen. I wear my moon boots out. The cars are all in the garages. But I stopped. And just was in the silence. I was in the silence for a long, long time. My grandchildren weren't coming to visit. My friends were all gone on various different trips. And I stopped and listened to what was inside of me. And at first, all I could hear was this dark, bleak space. And I thought, well, I better go into it. So I did. I went into this space of being very not okay with it, but just very much in it. And I started to feel all this human emotion around me that was unexplainable. And as I started to feel it, I realized that it was one other part of being human that I was denying. I was denying the whole of who I am. And I saw the whole of who I was. And then something happened in my heart. My heart opened up and said, if the whole of who I am can see this dark side, it can see the light side too. Mm. And in that moment, it's as though the floodlights in a baseball stadium got turned on. And I looked around me and said, oh my gosh, I love this world. I don't need to go to Paris. I don't need to go to Burning Man. I just need to be in the space with the people that I'm with. Mm-hmm. And that's where I really got the beauty that I think is coming through with the COVID-19 isolation, the beauty of being who we are with the people we are with every day. And experiencing all the emotions, the frustration, the anger, the love, and putting it all together so that what we see is a person who's all of it. And that feels really good.
Right. So if you would allow, I think what I'm hearing is, when things stopped, so-called stopped, they started, it seems like they really sort of kept going, but going on the other side, like the darker side, or the side where you got to get a new kind of awareness from, not from Paris or Cortez or Burning Man, but more from being with yourself and what matters to you. Yes?
Yes, Dr. Fred. Yes, that's right. It was from the inside out, healing from the inside out. A totally new experience for me.
Right.
And one that actually I realized is exceptionally valuable for my work, which is writing and creating and telling stories.
Right. And so in a minute, I'm going to ask you to tell us a little bit about the work you do in writing. And I'm so curious, as you tap on this, to talk towards anything that you saw in the period of time, during this transition before December and then into December and the winter. And then, with the emergence of the outbreak, what are some things that you're noticing with respect to your work, and really tell us a little bit about the work and how I know a little bit about that, but your self-expression as it's revealed in the work that you do for the world.
Well, it's all about what it means to be human. I use various different modalities, writing, filmmaking, speaking, to share what I've got. I don't like to explain things, so I never explain miracles. I do like to wonder. I do like to wonder about what's next. So if I was but I do want to share this because this is like astounding. It's the thing about discovering who you are on the planet means that you can discover who you are in community on the planet. And then the outcome could possibly be building something beyond what we can imagine right now for all the people who are here. Right now, we tend to go into our own worlds. I've noticed that people do retreat. There's a lot of retreating, and it's protection. And people don't want to hear what is uncomfortable. So maybe I don't know, maybe I take a few too many chances and say too many things that are a little uncomfortable to people. But what I find is if you can just get to a place of being okay with that, anything's possible.
So again, let me go out and try to recreate what you're saying, because I think I get it and it's pretty beautiful. And I just want to make sure our listeners are getting what you're saying too, which is that if one can be okay with retreat as a response and not making themselves feel either diminished or wrong in that retreat, if you can truly be okay with that being an aspect of your entire humanity and embrace that, then anything is possible. Is that what you're saying?
Sort of. And when I produce a television show, I don't like to make a big deal about anything because I think a great producer doesn't make a big deal about anything. You just deal with it and you do the next thing. So it's kind of like that. I like comedy because things turn out well in comedies. So it's about that too. And I like creating fun and love and heart and those places.
Beautiful.
So stories of people are what I do. Sometimes it magically changes their lives. Sometimes it magically changes my life.
Now, you mentioned that you use a few different modalities to express these stories. Can you share those with us again, please? Like, movies and a few other ways, right?
Sure. During COVID-19, I was doing some very powerful work with an integrative medicine doctor, and we were creating healing stories that he was writing, and I was writing with him to help his patients be with the extension of humanity through the ages and how we've always been resilient, how we've moved forward. So that was pretty cool.
Yes.
We did a website for him. We created his work, his writings for him, a protocol for Qigong, which is something that I have learned from him, which is a wonderful breathing technique. So there's meditative techniques that really work in this realm too. So that was one thing. I make television shows. I did a show about robots, a couple shows of robots who had human characteristics. I'm working on a fabulous documentary with Peter Fikowski on climate restoration. And we are looking at changing the way people think about solutions to the climate.
Super cool.
Yeah, and then I think probably the fun of it is finding little gems. Just this week, I discovered that a small thing I'm doing for the two beautiful little souls in my life, my beautiful little grandchildren, Maddie and Parker, I've been telling them stories about a grandma who shows up with her spaceship, and she lands outside their window and takes them up to the moon. Well, I realized this weekend that when I was at a conference when John Baker was talking about spaceships going to Mars, that there's a lot of interesting content that's real out there that I could put into my stories. So from that, I'm going to take a few of his beautiful moments that NASA is creating and put them into these stories and keep moving them forward. So everything in life has kind of a ripple effect is what I'm trying to say. Dr. Ung's readings led me to do more Qigong and more healing and feeling like really great during COVID-19. And the talk by John Baker with his miniature spaceships that went to Mars inspired creativity. So it's almost as though we just have to look around us. We have to open our eyes. We open our eyes and there it is.
Yes.
There's the spiral of life right in front of us.
Yes.
There's the brightness and the colors and the magenta and the green and the yellow and the vividness and the swirls, and all of that is there. But sometimes we just can't see because we're walking around with our eyes closed. We're walking around with our eyes closed because there's some stuff in the closet we don't want to notice. Well, what if we just noticed it and got on with it? So that's kind of where I'm at right now. What does it mean to be human? I guess it means to share that with people and see how many other people are doing that too.
So what it means to share that, what would it be like if we actually opened our eyes instead of closed them when there were things that were undesirable in our viewfinder? Yes.
It would be so much fun. It would be beautiful to be able to be free with people, to express how much we care about them without having some consequence tied to it.
Right. Amen. I hear you loud and clear. And, we have all of our reasons to be concerned, to be, guarded, to be evasive, to be standoffish. And that's even before any kind of viral outbreak. And then since then, it's almost mandated that we continue to do those things or even accentuate or amplify those things. There's an opportunity here to just open our eyes to what's here and be present with the people in our lives that matter to us, the people in lives that we run into each and every day.
I think it's hard to do this, though.
Oh?
We have to use our imagination and we have to be authentic. And once you get really authentic with what you really want, then you can imagine what's possible. And then you can create a new possibility for being with other people.
Okay, I think I see that. So do you have any personal breakthroughs or, even frameworks that you have found yourself using in that area? It's a difficult question.
Yes, I have. As far as people in my life, one of the things I do is I continue to talk to them. It's so simple. I talk, I text, I send information, and there's a way to talk that actually brings people into your world. Sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's flirtatious, sometimes it's serious, but it's about keeping the communication going, because without the communication, your mind, your imagination can take you into a very strange place. Maybe not the place that we want to be in.
Right.
So number one, I like to talk a lot. I hate to recommend it because I'm sometimes told I talk too much, but talk, just talk. Say what's in your heart. Say it authentically and be with that. Be with whatever comes back to you. And if the person doesn't call you for 2 weeks afterwards, be with that too. Because you said something that meant something to you, something that was important and something that touched your heart. So I've been having little phone calls with friends on Zoom, and some of them don't want to be on these Zoom calls that happen every week, but I regularly send them the emails and I text them before the call and I give them a call and I remind them of how great it is to get together. And we get together and everybody actually laughs. They have fun. They stay for the hour and then they go on with their life and they keep coming back. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
No one's invited them before. They've never been invited to do this.
Right.
It's like having a great party with great food, except now it's all virtual. But nevertheless, it's like being invited is so special.
Right.
So number one, talk. And then the second part that's way more important than the talking is listen. So just be in the space of being able to hear what's being said, and maybe be in a space of being able to hear what's being said without jumping in with your own view immediately. So on these calls with friends, some of them have got opinions that are quite different than mine. Some have political opinions of certain leaders of certain countries that they really like. And I think that our prime minister is doing a great job in Canada. I'm not so sure that this other president is doing exactly what I would do. Anyway, I resist that because is there any point in really going into this conversation with her about how great somebody is doing because she watches Fox News? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that you're pointing towards the skill of being with people who had like being with and listening authentically to people who have, sometimes views that are diametrically opposed to ours, and nevertheless giving a space to listen to what it is they have to say.
And how beautiful is that? How wonderful is it that other people have diametrically opposed views? That's what makes this life really exciting. If we were all the same, we would die of boredom. So I actually don't want that to end. I want people to have different views.
Right.
But I want to be able to listen to it from a place of saying, I understand, where you're coming from. And I also am clear of where I'm coming from too.
Right.
Without losing my identity.
Exactly. So there's a way of getting across your view, not as a function of your disagreement with them, but as a function of it being your view. That's all. Your view different than someone else's view, and not necessarily as a function of maybe saying that they are wrong or bad or something for having that view. Yes? Maybe,
but maybe it's more like listening from the other side.
Okay.
Like, hello from the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay to have a hello from the other side.
Yes.
It's like acceptance. Like, wow, we're moving into a place in our society where we're seeing that we're all connected. We've all done this duty together for 2 months. We are in a space where we know that there's something about us that's all connected. Now, what is it? What can we discover that's all connected about us? And how can we take that into action and take it forward into something that's really viable for our businesses, for our love life, for our children, whatever we want? How do we take that forward? There's a lot of questions coming up right now, and this is a beautiful time for questions in our society. And we can put it in here, whether there's agreement or not. We can do anything in the face of no agreement.
Isn't that great? That's awesome, Kathy. That's just fabulous. Thank you. I have a question that we ask many of our guests, and I'm going to go out on a limb and ask you about it. I think that you may have been briefed about it, but if not, it's still okay. And the question is a question about, maybe you've already touched on it. We'll see how you manage it. So the question is in this world, there are some things that just simply tweak us. So my question is that send us flying, that have it be that if it was up to us, it would be way different than that we are, really not good with how things are going in certain areas of life. So what is that thing for you? Is there something out there that's really just like, if you had to change it, you would change that instantly?
Yes. What I would change has got to do with family. I am totally distressed by the fact that family has become so small. The whole expansion of family into grandparents, distant relatives, even siblings seems to be on very rocky ground right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I did mention earlier that I do have a degree of sadness on the breakdown of human love in our society. It's as though we have forgotten how to love those closest to us.
Yeah.
And how to be with our intense emotions with those closest to us. Mm-hmm. And because they're close to us, we've given ourselves permission to have these intense emotions. Mm-hmm. We've given ourselves permissions to have love and anger and joy and sadness, all of these emotions. But then we don't give ourselves permissions to be with it. What I see happening is siblings don't talk to each other. The grandparents are in nursing homes. The daughter-in-laws have the age-old thing of That's my mother-in-law. Is she coming for Christmas again this year? We've forgotten that we are one. We've forgotten that this beautiful entity of family is sacred. Now, that's not to say all people do that.
Sure.
mean, I actually have had very happy experiences in my family. I had an amazingly happy childhood, and all was well. But people grow up and they grow on, and things move in different directions. So I personally too have experienced some of that, and I also see my friends and my relatives and others living their lives without any connection. And I just wonder are we supposed to be connected by our DNA? Was this a cosmic plan that human beings have disrupted in some way? And should we possibly look at that? Is there something about that love and that compassion and that loving kindness that is supposed to be in each of us? It's supposed to be shared intimately in this first unit of family and then expanded to our global unit of family. At the conference that I was at this past weekend, a woman showed a picture of the earth and said, we all live here.
Right.
In one place. It's quite interesting. It's like we're all in one home.
Right.
We don't know we're all in one home yet.
Right.
So to answer your question, is there something going on in the world that tweaks me? Yeah, it tweaks me that we can't just stop this ridiculousness about having our own separate lives, and we can't just be together.
Right. I got that. Thank you. Kathy, you mentioned that you have, I think you said 2 grandchildren. Is that right?
Yes.
Say something about them.
Oh my gosh, they're so beautiful. Oh, I have a little granddaughter who is 4, who loves to be exactly who she is right now. And that's like an artist. That's like someone who dresses up in clothes, somebody who doesn't want to talk on the phone, somebody who clearly knows what TV show she's going to watch and loves her mom's cookies so much, and her dad playing camping in the living room. And I have a grandson who is soft and gentle and loves to stare at the phone when I call, and happens to have a little crocodile toy like I have, and we both snap these crocodile toys at each other and laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh.
And how old is he?
He's 2.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And, it's the children. These beautiful children are our future. And this is why I'm so adamant about this family thing. It's got to change in my lifetime, because when these kids grow up and they have their families, I want them to have a world where family is precious, where family is the treasure, the jewel of their life. And when that happens, that will be a world where the world is together.
Beautiful. Super great. Thank you. Kathy, what else is there? Like what else either, well, let's put it this way. In the world that exists in friendships, or in the world that exists in colleagues, or the world that exists in education or hobbies, what kind of things do you find yourself doing to keep yourself not only occupied, but moving this conversation forward?
Well, I think the first thing I have to say is this is a hard conversation to move forward. The second thing I have to say is I totally believe in love. I believe in loving lots and lots and lots of people and lots and lots and lots of ideas. And one thing I do is I tend to create mountains of ideas, rivers and large flows of ideas all over the place. I love giving them away, and I love seeing them come to life too. So I see them come to life through the words that I put on a page, through the images I put on a screen, and through the collaborations of people that I like to cause. So where does that leave me? Leaves me happy. It leaves me happy. Like, I think that peacefulness and happiness comes from this relating to the world in a way where we are coming from our heart, we are expressing love, and we are generously being there for somebody else.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. It's beautiful.
Yeah. The whole idea of caring. Let's care about people. Let's care about people at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Let's care about people on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Let's care about them when it's raining outside.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Let's care about them all the time.
Right. Let's care about people all the time. I think that's just a great recipe for not only a meaningful life, but a life that, a happy and meaningful life, a satisfied and meaningful life. Yes?
Yeah. And even though I mentioned earlier, I went to Paris, Cortez, Burning Man, I've been all over the world. I've gone to 5 continents making films and whatnot. But even though I've been to all these places, in each of those places, the reason I have such a beautiful memory of them is because I connected with somebody, like people in those places. Yes, I saw Notre Dame as it was being rebuilt, and I saw the incredible vehicles created at Burning Man and the flames and everything else. But it wasn't that. It was like the person who turned around and smiled at me as we were watching the flames go down at Burning Man, and the person in Paris at the coffee shop who said, "Would you like this chair?"
Yeah. Isn't that great? It's just simply the simple human connection.
It's simply who we are to each other.
Yeah.
The essence of who we are to each other is love.
Beautiful.
And that's a new driving force. I actually have not always used that in my work. And now I am doing that, which is why it's incredible to share this with you today. So thank you for the opportunity. Sometimes the timing is so perfect to share something.
Well, Kathy, it's been a pleasure to have you share with us and to share with me, what matters to you. It's just fabulous. It's just fabulous what you're up to, and it's fabulous what you stand for. And I think my listeners, and certainly me directly, really get a new view of really what makes you tick and what has you be so beautiful and what has you be such a massive contribution to everybody who knows you. So it's a deep pleasure to have interviewed you today. I'm sure my listeners are really curious about how they might be able to get in touch with you moving forward, either through some of the work you do, or maybe they want to follow you somewhere, or maybe they want to ask you a question or two. Would you like to load up a little bit for my listeners, a way that they might be able to contact you?
Thank you, Fred. First, I just want to say thank you to you for who you're being, for the opening to have these conversations on the planet. And you are being, as Harry Rosenberg would say, you're being the possibility of being for human beings.
Thank you.
Which is astounding and beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes, call me, be with me. Kathy at starcastleprojects.com. It's, for sure. I'm always open to conversations with people and open to people bringing their ideas to light. And if I can help one great idea come to light, then that makes my life worth living.
Awesome. And can you say that email address again a little slower and spell out the domain? Yeah.
Yeah, it's Kathy.
That's a K, right? Yeah.
Kathy at Starcastle, star like the stars in the sky, castles like our dreams, starcastleprojects.com.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, listeners. If you've enjoyed this even half as much as me, this might be a good time to tell your friends to tune in and maybe just share this particular podcast with them. It's been a pleasure, Kathy. Thank you so much for joining me. Is there anything else you would like to close with? It really has been fun.
Well, thank you, Dr. Fred. And never explain the miracles. Just know they're there.
Isn't that great? Awesome. I just want to thank you, from the bottom of my heart, for joining us today with the interview with Kathy Fedori. Isn't she amazing? I mean, who she is really just a personification of bringing love to everybody on the planet. And she doesn't really necessarily know herself as that, but she's so unstoppable in how important it is to actually love each other or be with each other through the darkness and through the light. And I thought she just made some beautiful points about how pulling together all of the human features is what brings us, into being one whole group of people called humans. Truly an awesome interview, and it was really, really fun. So maybe when you were listening, you thought, wow, yeah, I have some friends who would really benefit or really, really love this episode. Reach out to them. Go right ahead and, invite them to listen and then to subscribe to the Welcome to Humanity podcast. And go ahead and subscribe yourself if you haven't done so already. Take a moment and hit that button on your podcast player that says subscribe. And if you want, you can even leave a review. I would be truly grateful for that support. Also, if you want to catch up on past episodes, go right on over to welcometohumanity.net/podcast. And you can catch replays of every single podcast we've made. So thank you again for enjoying today's podcast and then for passing it on to your friends. Really, really awesome. See you on the backside. Welcome to Humanity.